Hi, this is Sandy Anderson. I'm continuing with my presentation that I ran out of time for, and I just need to follow up on a few things. In regards to communication channels that our district uses, we utilize social media, we utilize Facebook and Twitter. There's also a local newspaper called WOW, which stands for the Westie Official Weekly. There's another newspaper within our county called the Smoke Signal that also publishes information in regards to our school. We have a couple community members that developed a backroads broadcasting company in order to stream games that wouldn't otherwise be streamed. Then there's WTC, and BVTC. They're both communications companies that have their own personal channels that our school district can provide information on their basic channel or notifications. But I would say the most utilized avenue of communication within our district is Swift alerts. And so those are text alerts that might text and say, check your email for information about this, which kind of goes into the next one, which is district-wide email. They are used relatively extensively in regards to Swift alerts and district-wide email. Then I would say that that's also the most effective for reaching our community. Not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody gets the newspaper, but most everybody does have a phone, and that allows them to receive those communications. When I think about multicultural issues within our district, we do not have a lot of diversity in our district. We're over 90% white within our district as a whole. And then even within my building, it's about 95%. And so with that, there is also a lack of different cultures. Even though it's predominantly white, there's still not as much culture within that realm. And so I know at the high school, they do try to promote different ethnic backgrounds, specifically Hispanics. And there's it's usually in relation to the Spanish class, but it does still celebrate those other ethnicities. I know when I taught at the other elementary school within the school district, we used to have celebrations around the world, around December, that we would go through different countries. And I thought that was very valuable for providing a lot of diversity. We also had a speaker that would come in who was Jewish, and he just did an amazing presentation and shared those cultural norms, and I thought that was very beneficial. But where we've kind of all developed or adopted a specific Tier 1 curriculum specifically for reading at the elementary level, there's not as much room for opportunities like that. There's still some multicultural and diversity included within those curriculums, and sometimes I think that's the best way to provide those opportunities for students is through a text format. And so I do think that that happens, just not to the degree in which it should, which kind of leads into my next slide, which would be our weakness, and that is diversity. And even on our building and district report cards, that's our number one deficit, which I'm not sure how you generate more diversity other than make it very welcoming and valuable to everyone. I think exposure for many of these kids, they do not often leave this area. Their families grew up here, and their families grew up here, and their families grew up here. And so providing them with that background knowledge of understanding that not everybody does it this way, and just providing them those opportunities for learning while still being respectful to their own cultural knowledge and still celebrating those things as well. So I think it's just important to make that a culture and a norm rather than something that makes people uncomfortable. I feel like the more you learn about it and the more you educate about it, the less scary it becomes to people when they learn about something that might be different from them. So this is my PLO5 correlation. I wrote that knowing who you serve is the best way to serve them. This assignment enabled me to develop a deeper understanding and demonstrate the ability to promote success for all students and adults within our district by learning about them a little bit deeper. Understanding and appreciating traditions and structures will enable administrators the ability to greater engage their community. And identifying leaders within the community will also help me as an educator to know who to look to in order to best advocate for my families. The relevancy of this to my current learning. This module was relevant to my current learning to generate a greater understanding of the families we serve when considering how broad the demographics are within our district. Kind of enables me a little bit better to advocate for the needs within my specific building compared to the community as a whole. And I don't think I ever touched on this specifically. My intentions were when I evaluated the demographics, but our district is quite affluent. Population-wise, the largest percentage is very affluent, but my specific community has a much higher percentage of SES, and so it's just the needs that are within my building are very different than the needs from within the other elementary school. And sometimes that can create an issue when you are trying to communicate those needs and articulate them. And so I do value the demographics being documented, and I think that could be very helpful in the future as a future administrator. Then reflecting on this module impacted myself as a future leader by developing a greater value of why I must know this information in order to better service my community's needs. As a future leader, I will attempt to collect additional information from stakeholders to expand on my knowledge of the community and better serve them. And so one thought that I had with this, that specifically to Westmoreland Elementary, it has always predominantly been a very rural farming community, and simply put, the demographics have shifted. There are still many rural and farming families, but that's not the majority anymore. But I do still feel like the community approach is just targeted towards that. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of low SES families. We have a lot of families that are not farmers. In fact, there's more than there is not. And I think that shift has occurred in our population, but I don't think the community outreach has shifted along with that. And so I feel like providing more community opportunities that are not just centered around farming would be beneficial to better engage them. So just a little additional reflection. So thank you for listening and have a great evening.